Now, your Forecast First, sponsored by Dr. Lawrence Lee of the Orthopedic and Shoulder Center.
Hi, everybody. I'm your local weather authority meteorologist, Brooke Brighton, taking a look at that early forecast. Mostly cloudy conditions, and then some fog will roll in starting tomorrow morning. All the rest of your weekend forecast later in the show, but first, WMBD News starts right now.
Tonight, the government is in a shutdown after the Senate fails to pass a temporary spending plan. We have reaction from local lawmakers. Plus, hundreds of people gather in East Peoria to protest the one-year anniversary of the Women's March. But first, a woman is injured after a house fire in Peoria. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Harvey. The fire broke out just before 8 on Friday in the 1200 block of East Virginia. Firefighters arrived to find the fire in the living room of the home. One woman suffered injuries to her hands and feet while trying to remove a burning mattress. The fire was caused by a child playing with a lighter. Damage is estimated at $25,000. Police need your help identifying two people who armed an Avanti's delivery driver at gunpoint late Friday night. It happened just before 11 p.m. on the 3600 block of West Castile Court. Two suspects got away with over $300 in cash plus food and then ran southbound on Marble Way. They are described as being 19 to 25 years old, one skinny and wearing a black Chicago Bulls hoodie, the other heavier set with a medium-size afro. 1 year ago, there was a women's worldwide march for women's rights and to protest against President Trump. Today, on the anniversary of that march, hundreds of protesters showed up at the East Peoria riverfront to rally with the rest of the nation. Fighting for change is the motivation behind these rallies, with those attending hoping that the large number of people protesting will show the government just how important these issues are to people all around the world.
There's a huge movement going on, and this is a small representation, and it's all over the country and all over the world in many ways. And people are fed up with it. You know, they want change, and they're going to get change.
Tonight at 10, our own Kyle Vincent will show us more about this year's march. Much of the federal government is shut down after the Senate failed to pass a funding bill late Friday night. The Senate and House are both at work at Capitol Hill today in an effort to find a compromise plan to restart the government before Monday morning. Anna Warnicki is in our D.C. bureau with the latest.
Lawmakers here in Washington are in crisis mode, but instead of working together to come up with a bipartisan solution, many of them are still pointing fingers.
Get the government open.
Tennessee Republican Congressman Chuck Fleischmann says Democrats got them into this mess, and it should be Democrats who get them out.
They've made a colossal mistake. They hurt the American people with this. They need to reverse course.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's the Republicans who aren't willing to compromise.
The Republican leadership can't get a tumultuous president on board with anything, and they don't offer us any compromises on their own.
It all comes down to DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. It's the program that protects immigrants who arrived in the U.S. as children from deportation.
It starts at the top.
Democrats say they want a DACA deal attached to the spending bill, but Republicans, like Texas Congressman Jody Arrington, say they aren't willing to start negotiating DACA until the government is back up and running.
It's unbelievable to think that Democrats would actually put American citizens at risk, our military at risk, shut the American government down on people who are here illegally.
The Dreamers are important, but there's much more at stake here.
But Texas Democrat Lloyd Doggett says he's willing to keep DACA out of the spending bill if Republicans promise a vote on DACA in the next few days.
It doesn't have to be included in this agreement, but there has to be a firm understanding of how we address that.
Texas Democrat Henry Cuellar agrees. He says lawmakers need to work out their differences.
You got to put people in one room, people that know the subject, sit down, roll up your sleeves, and get their job done. The people are frustrated.
Today's shutdown also marks President Trump's one-year anniversary in office. The president fired off a series of tweets today, all blaming the Democrats for the shutdown, calling it a nice present. In Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki.
This afternoon, we spoke to Congressman Rodney Davis about his thoughts on the shutdown. He says instead of voting to avoid it, Democrats are instead going against plans that were previously put in place.
I'm extremely disappointed in Democrats here in Washington, D.C. For years, they've told us, let's make sure that if we're going to avoid a government shutdown, let's put bills on the floor that have bipartisan support.
Meanwhile, Senator Dick Durbin released a statement earlier today on Facebook saying in part, quote, We need Republican leaders to take up our bipartisan agreement on immigration that checks all of the boxes for President Trump and provides a pathway to citizenship for hundreds of thousands of dreamers. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth took to the Senate floor today responding to President Trump's tweet accusing Democrats of holding the military hostage. In a statement earlier, she said, quote, "This short-term funding bill deprives roughly 45,000 service members in Illinois and the whole of our military of the certainty needed to protect and defend our nation," adding it fails to adequately support veterans or fund community health centers, and it leaves hundreds of thousands of dreamers in a state of uncertainty. Now, this isn't the first time the government has had a shutdown. You'll recall back in 2013, the U.S. was in a similar situation. Congressman Davis, however, says this time is different.
It's a lot different. Frankly, that's why it's so disappointing to me, because back then I heard Democrats like Senator Durbin say that it's an act of cowardice to shut down the government. Well, he just led the filibuster that did that last night.
Congress is currently working towards a solution. We'll continue to update you throughout the weekend. Well, it's the last day of a popular Junction City restaurant, which is on the move. We'll share where you can visit them in just a few months.
And in a little bit, we'll take a look at that hourly forecast coming up right after the break.